think this is on. My name is Emily Orchid. This is my first YouTube video that I've ever attempted. Where do I begin? Well, I decided to pursue a YouTube channel because I did write a book for PTSD related to my personal testimony and how I recovered from PTSD and chronic suicidal tendencies that lasted for like a quarter of a century. It was hard to sell the book. I had a hard time getting out promoting it, but I also found that people these days aren't really interested in reading anymore. It seems like we all like to watch YouTube videos. My story, it's concise. I did do 22 edits on the book because I wanted to get solutions to people quickly so that they can find peace and serenity and stop harming themselves, as soon as possible. It seems like right now with the COVID and all the lockdowns and everything, I hear that, there's a lot of depression, suicidal tendencies out there, people taking their lives, and it just breaks my heart that it's come to this. I don't know. I think, maybe I have your solution. A couple weeks ago, I was watching a show on TV, The Homicide Hunter. I really enjoy this show. It's narrated by a retired police officer from Colorado Springs. His name is Joe Kenda. Anyway, this particular episode, these two young men who were driving around in their truck in the early evening after it became dark, and they came upon a fire out in the woods or something. So they went to find out what was on fire. Ended up, this young woman was lying on the ground and she was engulfed in flames and she was burning. And, conveyed that somebody had done this to her as best as she could. So they tried to put the fire out best they could, and they got help, and the police officers were on the scene and got a little information out of her before she passed. But with the investigation, they come to find that actually she was the one that had created the fire, that she had done this to herself. I mean, what a horrible way to die. At any rate, Joe Kenda had mentioned that somehow they figured out that she had actually had a condition called multiple personality disorder, which is also known as dissociative identity disorder, which some people think is just a mental illness, but in actuality, it's demonic. So anyway, I was treated for depression, and I wrote about that in my book, a number of ways for years and years, and then I finally wound up in a federally funded program near my home that I attended every week for quite some time, and learned later that I had actually been treated for dissociative identity disorder. And at the time, if you had told me that I had multiplicity, that I had multiple personalities, there's no way. I just would have never conceived of that. That's not something I could have imagined. At any rate, I've been procrastinating doing this YouTube channel for quite some time, but after I saw that episode of the homicide hunter, and that poor girl that killed herself with the fire, I realized I really needed to get off my butt and do something, because it's urgent. There's a lot of people suffering in this country right now, whether you have multiplicity, and that's where your depression's coming from, or you're just struggling with hard times. I don't want people to die like that anymore. Another thing, well, mainly I want to teach you how to have a relationship with God and with Jesus. And that was something I wanted to get around to doing for a long time. I'm just going to be frank. I've made a lot of mistakes. I'm not a perfect person. With the depression and a lot of other problems I had in my life, at a young age I started smoking pot. When I was, probably 13 or 14 years old, and it gradually, my consumption of weed, marijuana, it increased over time. I smoked for the better part of about 37 years actually. And for a long time I tried to stop, and I wanted to stop, but I couldn't stop. But once I started building a relationship with Jesus and reading the Bible, I was eventually able to overcome that. And anyone that has known me well in most of my life would tell you that it's pretty amazing that I'm not smoking marijuana anymore. So I'd like to tell people how I did that. I can't believe I stopped, and now in the state where I live, they actually, it's legal. You can go into a dispensary and buy pot legally now. I drive by a dispensary every day on my way home from work, and I just look at that full parking lot, all the cars. I'm just so glad that's not me. I just want to help people get into the solution. I'm reading off some notes here. I'm kind of a shy person, but I think as we go with this, I'll become more comfortable with this. My support, well, where did they go? Anyway, I have Maine Coon cats. I have 3 Maine Coon cats and a ragdoll cat. And so they're kind of my studio audience, so you'll get to meet them as they pop into the field of vision here. They're just a blast. They're my pride and joy. They bring me so much joy. Anyway, my book here. I'll show you this. PTSD, Enemy Awake. And there's my name, Emily Orchid. That is my pen name. I just want to, maybe later I'll tell you what my real name is, but Emily Orchid's better to remember than my real name. My YouTube channel is called Lions and Warriors Return to Forever. And yeah, I did steal the Return to Forever part from Chick Corea. And so anyway, this is hard. Anyway, I'm just so amazed that I quit smoking pot. I thought I really needed to get my act together before I could build a relationship with Jesus, but I just never got around to it. I kept thinking, as soon as I quit smoking pot, I'm going to be able to read the Bible and pray more. I guess I've always prayed. I've always regarded myself as a Christian, but I didn't really understand how the spiritual world worked. I guess where it all started was driving in the car. I guess I had prayed to God that I wanted to build a relationship with Jesus and be closer to God and be more of a Christian and live like a Christian. My drive to work is like 40 minutes from my home. So I enjoy listening to news radio in the car. So I was listening to Patriot Radio. I am a conservative, and so I enjoyed listening to Mike Gallagher and some other people, Rush Limbaugh, which we just lost, unfortunately, and some other people. At any rate, one day I got in the car, I started it up, and the radio dial was somehow ended up on the far right end of the tuning line there. So I started hitting the back button, to hit back, get back to my 96.9 radio station. And I thought to myself, maybe I'll run into a good Christian channel on the way back to 96.0 or whatever it is on the AM dial. So I'm moving down the line and it lands on 1010 AM radio. It's a Christian station. I had never heard it before. But I just started listening. And I just became so intrigued and I just kept listening. And then I started seeking out Christian people sharing about Christian stuff on the YouTube channel, and I found these two guys, David Carrico and John Pounders. They've got a YouTube channel called The Midnight Ride. They live in Indiana. Anyway, I started finding out more about the spiritual world and spiritual warfare. And these, I was raised in a Catholic religion, and there were a lot of things that were said by my parents in my youth that I didn't understand and they didn't elaborate on. And by the time I was 15, when it was time for confirmation classes, I went through some of that, and I found myself debating the teacher, and I told my mom, I'm just not into this. I don't want to be a part of the Catholic faith anymore, and I don't want to become confirmed. So I stopped doing that. I was busy smoking pot and partying with my friends. I was a headbanger, so I enjoyed being a headbanger, smoking pot, partying with my friends. Anyway, so I just kind of never picked up with God or Christianity, very much after that. but I started learning some things from this David Carrico and this John Pounders, and also some stories from David Carrico's wife, Donna Carrico. And I just listened more and more and started learning more and more and connecting the dots, and realized that there was a connection between the treatment I received for my long-term depression and what they were talking about. So I started applying these ideas and in my life, and just started experiencing more and more solutions as the time went on. I also, through them, learned about another guy named Russ Dizdar. He has I guess, I don't know if it's a YouTube channel or a website, Shatter the Darkness. And so I started following him, Russ Dizdar, and the knowledge just was ever expanding, and I found more and more solutions to more and more of my problems, and just began to see how the devil's been busy distracting me and everybody else in this world from understanding what the truth is. So I'm gonna build this YouTube channel, and I'm going to share with you my testimony and what has worked for me, and encourage you to check out these other YouTube videos, the YouTube channels, because I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. They've done such an incredible job and such an amazing amount of research. I'm just going to encourage people to go right to them. So again, The Midnight Ride with David Carrico, that's Carrico, and John Pounders, Pounders. I highly encourage you to check out their YouTube channel, or subscribe to their website. Also, I encourage you to explore Russ Dizdar, Dizdar, and Shatter the Darkness. If you're having a hard time quitting doing drugs, or if you got severe depression or a little bit of depression, or you have anxiety, or if you're feeling suicidal, or things just aren't going well in your world, I just highly encourage you to check them out, and also stay tuned and check my YouTube channel out. I guess I'm just gonna stop with that right now, and just stay tuned, and I'll do another episode. Thank you very much. I'm Emily Orchid.